Hey out there, this is Friday, August 26th, 2016, and it's just about 1 minute past 10 in the morning here in Northern California. And today I kind of wanted to talk a little about current events, not much in the news, big earthquake in Italy, more lies and deception from the Decepticon media as we expect. Their great reluctance to point out any positive attributes of Donald Trump. He recently changed his stance a little bit on his hard-nosed deportation policy. That he planned this mass deportation. That's what really set off so many of these. You could call them kind of race riots, I guess, that happened at some of his rallies, and this real anger and hatred at all this anger and hatred and this animosity and vitriol that's been directed toward him. I'm sorry, I'm distracted looking at a beautiful eagle. In fact, I think I'll share it. No doubt he's just hunting for some breakfast, probably. But the theme today, I wanted to talk about a kind of a universal deception that humanity is under, this kind of mesmerization, this spell, and how it all revolves around this idea, this belief that we somehow need money. And, I'd like to try to dispel that notion in its entirety and try to point out that money is an idea. It's a concept, and it was not developed by nice people. It was developed by people that wanted to be greedy, that wanted one up on their fellow man. They wanted an advantage. They wanted an unlevel playing field. And this idea goes back to Jesus turning over the money changers' table, knowing it was fraud, it was a scam, it was a way to bilk people out of their hard-earned money by promising them something that is too good to be true, that they could make money off their money, by charging interest and to people that didn't have, and this would be an advantage to them. And then they, got in their head that this was a benevolent idea that, these, and even today we see this with these micro lending programs and all this. If these were grants, I'd be fine. I'd say, anything that helps level the playing field. But as everybody knows, the playing field is getting less and less level. We're not making progress as a civilization. And this idea that we're somehow, we're going to change and we're going to adapt and we're going to learn how to contend with money and we're going to develop a level playing field and we're going to extinguish this wealth disparity, because as anybody, a rational thinking person would say, well, look, since wealth disparity, ever growing wealth disparity, is a bad thing, then by default you have to admit that ever shrinking wealth disparity would be a good thing. Now, anybody that's watched my videos knows I'm not a socialist. That they know that I don't prescribe to the Robin Hood theory of taking from the haves and giving to the have-nots. So I'd make a really bad totalitarian, authoritarian, communist, or socialist. Those things I am not. So I'm not standing here saying that we need to make the field level by taking from the haves and redistributing wealth to the have-nots. No, not at all. All I'm saying is that through sound money, the have-nots can also be haves gradually, okay? And not by taking anything from the haves, letting them keep everything that they have, and even adding to that, but just allowing the have-nots to have. This is not a difficult thing to achieve, but one would think so when they look at the history we have in this country of bad economics, unsound money, growing wealth and income disparity, all these problems that plague us. The poverty, and most people don't realize this, costs society much more as a whole. You look at the taxes. It costs us much more to maintain poverty because we got to spend so much on the prison industry because of all the crime that's being induced by desperation, financial, economic desperation. The have-nots, in other words. So the problem keeps growing, and so many people don't understand the tie-in with the debt. This is the big thing, is the debt. This idea that, well, we're just going to ignore it, and we're just going to we're going to do something different. We're not going to worry about ever paying the debt off. We're going to kick the can. The next generation is going to inherit it. So just turn a blind eye, kick the can down the road, and leave it to your kids and to their kids, and let this thing get worse and worse as their currency is debased because your taxes have to go up just to maintain the debt. Just debt maintenance is what it's called. So as they increase the debt, that figure, of course, logically speaking, mathematically speaking, has to increase. That means your tax dollars have to go down in worth as your taxes go up, just like the cost of living. Anything that relates to the cost of living, in particular those things that we can't get away from, is a tax, okay? This is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The cost of living is a tax. So let's, make that very clear and make no bones about it. That's a matter of fact. And we've made zero progress, okay, in this regard. We've got to understand the driving forces, the causers, and the causes of our malaise, and our inability to extricate ourselves from this financial festering cesspool of corruption, okay? And all these people that think they got it made in the shade, and they're all just reveling in their status quo and the fact that, hey, I'm fine, my numbers look good, and you can't worry about you. They're really inadvertently, probably a lot of them don't know this, but they're prescribing to social Darwinian philosophy in this matter, this economic philosophy. This is the whole, this prosperity gospel, which some people ought not confuse what I'm trying to say with what these people prescribe to. Because I don't see any benefit from becoming a rich man, okay? I don't see it. While poverty is on the rise, while the wealth disparity is on the rise, to me it's a real turnoff, okay? And I don't understand people out there who have deluded themselves into believing that God is going to allow them to enjoy their prosperity at a time in history like this. No, he's not. It's called your conscience. It's an immutable law that you can't transcend. Nobody gets away from it, okay? As long as one man is suffering unnecessarily in this world because of these issues I'm talking about, we're all going to suffer because we are equally held accountable by God. Each one of us will stand one-on-one and answer for our belief system, our beliefs, the things that we trust in, the things we have faith in. These are the things that make us essentially who we are as human beings. They comprise, these are the things our soul is comprised of, our hearts and our minds, where our values and treasures lie. These are the things that we've got to have straight. We've got to be straight, and there's only one that can do that. I can't do it for you. Only he can do it. I can appeal to your conscience, and I can say, look, compunction is a good thing. Don't take that for meaning that I'm trying to lay a guilt trip on anybody. Look, I also am prescribing, I'm conforming to the degree that I use money too, okay? And I have great value for money too, because this is how I pay my bills. This is how I survive, right? This is how I get by. And just like everybody. So I'm in a state of fear too. I don't like it, of insecurity, and I don't like it. So what do? Do I immerse myself more in that thing I don't like that's causing all the problems in the world? The money, it's the root of not some of the evil. It's all the evil, the love of money. So as long as you've got these people that love money so much that they're willing to do anything to have it, how are the regular everyday people ever going to have a chance, okay, when they're willing to commit murder to get their way, to have the power of the money printing press? Great power, great satanic power in the money printing press. And we've got to understand that. We've got to understand these people are willing to murder presidents of the United States, beloved ones like JFK, who tried to give the American people sound money because he was an egalitarian. He didn't like wealth disparity. He wanted to turn it around. He didn't like these secret societies, these clandestine, sinister societies out there that were operating in a very disgusting manner. They're a repugnant lot. Okay, that's who they are. They're Satanists. They're Luciferians. That's who these people are. At the end of the day, their God is Satan. Okay, the God of, if you're going to abandon your conscience, okay, by default, your God is Satan. So whether they consciously and go forth deliberately and worship Satan and all this, they don't have to. By their deeds you will know them, by their actions, their fruit. And their fruit is rotten and it stinks to high heaven.